So I'm kind of all over the place today. It's a sunny day between some rain showers we're supposed to be getting there shortly. So I'm going to try to do some of the outdoor projects that are below the water line. One of them being our CNC Smile. So I was originally going to do a lot more work on the Smile, basically 4200 the gap, and do a couple layers of glass and fair it all in. But again, because we're on a tight time schedule, I'm just cleaning it up a little bit, slap a little bit of 4200 in there, do a little bit of fairing with some epoxy filler, and call it a day. Oh, you coming to help? What do you have? What's in there?
Rocks.
Oh, rocks. Good. Show Daddy. How many rocks do you got? Wow, that's a lot of rock. I've already kind of gouged out a bunch of the stuff that I could break off easy with a chisel. But now I'm going to take out the grinder and see if I can clean it up a little bit, fair it back, so that I can finish cleaning it up. Put in some 4200 and then a bit of epoxy with filler and probably some fiberglass mixed in. So I've only tightened this by 40 pounds or so, but let's see. Here's the keel to hull joint. I put this in to give myself a rough idea how hard. Oh, it's still roughly the same, so it hasn't really budged. Like with many projects, the more you dig at something, the more you find more things to work on and do. So as I was grinding away and just doing some final grinding, what I thought was final grinding, it turned into a bigger job for the keel to hull joint. I thought I was finished and I was just going to do a bit of Dremel work to taper the edges, but it actually, there's a lot more delamination of epoxy. So here, I've really kind of chipped away at anything that was delaminating, and this is some of the pieces that came off. Perfect example of why you don't leave any bottom paint on when you're putting epoxy, because it doesn't adhere, it just comes right off. Of course, bottom paint is ablative, so at least the one on this boat, so it just chips right off. So I think I've gotten rid of most of the chipped away bottom paint. I'm going to clean up the gap, taper any sharp edges. What I decided was I'm going to do 4200 on this, a bead of 4200, and then I'm going to fill it with epoxy afterwards instead of doing it all with epoxy, because I want this joint to be nice and flexible. Right now it's just hard epoxy, so if I had some G-Flex or something, some flexible epoxy, I would use that, but I currently don't have that. And I really don't want to use 5200 because no 5200, I hate that stuff. I don't know, I don't like it for most things. Anything I'm going to have to dismantle in the future, I swear at 5200 every time I have to try to dismantle it. And if I have it in between a small gap like that and I'm trying to scrape it out to try to make a clean surface again, it's gonna be hell. So 4200 at least will seal it, be flexible, and in the future if I need to take it out or if it doesn't adhere well this time, I'll be able to remove it fairly easy. Well, I know I'm gonna redo this in the future. The plan is to actually, like right now, I've only got a narrow taper here. You can see all the way through it to the other side, and you can actually see the front keel bolt there. 4200 in there. Once I get this all washed out and cleaned and tapered away a little bit more, I'm going to fill all of it with thickened epoxy and a little bit of chop strand. Now I know chop strand, technically the binder doesn't work well with epoxy, but I find it works quite well when I tear it up. I know it's not the best, but for underwater, I don't want to use polyester resin. This side's kind of the same thing, chipped away most of it. There's probably a couple places I could go at it a little harder, but again, it's going to be done in the future, so I don't need to go crazy at it now. All right, it's the next day and it's all dried out. I still see a bit of bottom paint and stuff, and that won't give me a good seal. Plus there's probably still quite a bit of dust that didn't come out with the hose, so I'm gonna use paper towel and acetone scraper or something to get in there a little bit and get rid of some of the dust. Definitely dirty. Gonna have to do that a few more times. Cleaned out, time for a bit of 4200. I'm gonna try to get it all the way to the back of the bolt. I squeeze this a little bit so I can jam it in there. .4200 is all cured up. It looks decent considering I didn't tape anything. I brought tape and completely forgot to tape it. Sometimes I get carried away, you get it all cleaned up. And I forget to do the tape prep, which would have made my life way easier and would have made it look cleaner in the end. But it doesn't matter. I'm gonna cover it all up with some epoxy there now and just kind of smear it in and try to get it as smooth as possible because I don't want to do much fairing afterwards. My brain is sporadic lately, I guess. I had to ask Alex to Google what the West Systems mixing ratio is because for some reason I cannot find it anywhere on the can. It's 1 pump to 1 pump. Great, well thank you. That doesn't really help me if I'm mixing it myself. Obviously it's probably somewhere here on the can. I'm probably just doing what we call here on Wildly Intrepid man looking or Corey looking, which is just looking quickly and not seeing it, getting frustrated and asking Alex to help. So anyway, I'm gonna start mixing up some epoxy and get this going. Don't mind the slight pink color. It's because the epoxy is a little bit older.